the reason you don't feel like yourself anymore isn't because you need to become someone new. Maybe it's because somewhere along the way, you got really good at being who everybody else needed you to be. The employee, the wife, the mom, the daughter, the caregiver, the strong one. And little by little, without even realizing it, you stopped asking a pretty important question. What about me? I'm 52 years old. I've been a nurse, a corporate leader, a wife, mom, daughter, sister, caregiver. I've lost people that I loved. I lost my career that I thought I would have until retirement. I've had seasons where I barely recognized the woman looking back at me in the mirror. And I spent a long time thinking that I needed to figure out who I was going to become next. I don't believe that anymore. I think we've gotten something really wrong about finding ourselves in midlife, and I wish I had understood it years ago. I think most of us have some version of this. I'll be okay when the kids don't need me as much anymore, when work settles down, when I lose the weight, when we have more money, when my parents are doing better. When I get through this hard season, when I finally figure out what I'm supposed to do with my life, then I'll breathe, then I'll take care of myself, then I'll do some of these things that I've always wanted to do, then I'll figure out what makes me happy. The problem is, life doesn't really work that way. You get through one season, and another one shows up, and then another, and another. And I know this because I was very, very good at postponing myself. For a long time, being needed felt a lot like having a purpose. And there's nothing wrong with being needed. I loved being a mom, a nurse, a wife, building my career. I am grateful for those parts of my life. But I didn't realize how much of my identity had become attached to what I did for everyone else. And that works pretty well until something changes. A child grows up, moves away, a parent dies, a career ends, the phone doesn't ring as much as it used to, and the calendar, it gets much quieter. And suddenly, you're left with a question you haven't had to answer in a very long time. Who am I when nobody needs me to be that person anymore? That question can feel terrifying. I know. I lived it. When my life started changing, I did what a lot of us do. I started looking forward for the answer. Okay, what's next? Who am I going to be now? What's the new goal? What's the new plan? What's the new version of Jennifer supposed to look like? And if you spend 5 minutes online looking for an answer to that question, somebody will tell you, go reinvent yourself. Become the best version of yourself. Have a glow up. Create a new you. Start over. Transform your life. And for a while, I thought maybe that was what I was supposed to do. But there was a problem. I didn't want a new me. I didn't hate the woman I had been. She had done some pretty hard things. She raised a child, built a career. She took care of people. She survived things that she didn't know that she could survive. She made mistakes. She learned. She kept going. And this is what took me far too long to understand. I wasn't starting over. I had evidence, 50 plus years of evidence. Every role I've had tells me something about myself. Every season tells me something. The things I was good at, the things I hated, the decisions I got right, and maybe even more importantly, the decisions that I got wrong, the things I tolerated for too long, and the things that made me feel alive, the things that drained me, the people I feel most myself around, the moments when I trusted myself, and the moments that I didn't. That's all information. Those aren't old versions of me that I need to discard. They're evidence. And once I understood that, the question changed. Instead of asking, who should I become? I started asking, what does everything I've already lived tell me about who I am? That is a completely different question. I learned pieces of this as a nurse long before I knew how to apply it to my own life. I've had the privilege of being with many people during incredibly vulnerable moments. And one of the things those experiences taught me is how quickly the things that we spend so much energy proving can become very small. The titles, the achievements, whether everybody approved or not, whether you did everything perfectly. Life has a way of stripping away the noise. What remains is much more personal. People, connections, how you spent your time, where you said what needed to be said, whether you allowed yourself to actually live your own life while you had it. I wish I could tell you I learned that lesson immediately, but I didn't. Apparently, I needed to learn some things the hard way. There was a season of my life that I had lost several people that I loved. I'd spent years carrying a lot. I gained 100 pounds. I looked in the mirror and I genuinely did not recognize myself. And eventually, I lost a career that I had had for 21 years. For a while, I thought all of those losses were evidence that I had somehow gotten lost. Now I see them differently. They taught me things, not because they were good. Some of them were terrible, but they showed me what mattered. They showed me what I could survive. They showed me where I had handed away too much of myself. They showed me what I wanted more of and what I didn't want to carry into this next part of my life. Again, evidence. So if you're somewhere around my age and you're looking at your life thinking, I don't know who I am anymore, I want you to consider something. Maybe you're not as lost as you think you are. Maybe the information you need isn't hiding in some future version of yourself. Maybe it's already there in your own life. Just think about it. When have you felt most like yourself? Not most successful, not most impressive, not when everybody else was pleased with you, but most like you. What were you doing? Who were you with? What mattered most to you then? What did you stop doing that you missed? What are you still doing simply because you've always done it? What have the hardest seasons of your life taught you about what you need? Those questions will tell you a lot more than some quiz telling you who the new version of you should be. I want to say this because I think women our age need to hear it. You don't have to blow up your life to change. You don't have to leave your husband or sell your house or move across the country. You don't have to start a new business. You don't have to become unrecognizable. Maybe something big does need to change, but maybe it doesn't. Maybe you need to start painting again. Maybe you need to stop saying yes when you really mean no. Maybe you need to call the friend that you've been thinking about for the last 6 months. Maybe you need to take the class or apply for the job or just go somewhere by yourself. Maybe it's that you need to take better care of your body or just sit quietly long enough to hear what you actually think. Maybe the next chapter starts with something incredibly small. That's still change. It counts. I'm still figuring this out. I don't have a perfectly aligned life where I wake up every morning knowing exactly what I'm doing and why. I wish I did. But I am learning to pay attention. I am learning that I don't need every answer before I take the next step. I'm learning to trust what my own life has taught me. I'm learning that wrong decisions can be fixed, that changing direction doesn't mean everything behind me was wasted. And I'm learning that rebuilding doesn't require a full demolition. That's probably the biggest thing I wish I could go back and tell myself. You don't have to erase your life to change your life. So instead of asking yourself, who am I supposed to become now? I want you to try this. What does my life already know about me that I've stopped paying attention to? I want you to sit with that one. Look at your whole life. Not just the pretty parts. Look at the mistakes, the jobs, the relationships, the losses, the things you quit, the things you couldn't quit but wish you had, the things you're proud of, the things you wish you'd done differently. It's all evidence. And somewhere in there are clues about what belongs in the life that you are building now. I don't think our job in midlife is to become unrecognizable. I don't think you need a complete reinvention. Actually, I think it's almost the opposite. Maybe the goal is to become recognizable to ourselves again, not the women that we were at 25, 30, or 35, and also not the woman somebody else thinks we should be at 50 or 60 or 70, but the woman that you are right now, with everything you've learned, everything you've survived, everything that you still want to experience. You don't need to invent her. She's already here. Maybe it's just time to start listening to her again. If this sounds like where you are right now, tell me something in the comments. What's the one part of yourself you'd like to bring back into your life? I would genuinely love to hear about it. And if you're in this season too, I hope you'll subscribe and stay with me, because that's what we're going to be figuring out here together. But until next time, I want you to keep going, because your next chapter is worth it.